4, 5, 6 storage units to store those equipment.
Will you try to do that every year, or will it?
We will. It will be a
on
lot
how much
smaller.
you-
If you've seen that at all, it was huge. We had our whole front yard over there with equipment, and you name it, we sold it. So we want to try to do that at least every year, maybe every 2 years, depending on how much we have. It was really a huge burden for us and our staff to get all that stuff together and have that sale. But we'll taper that down and try to do it more frequently so that we're not behind the 8 ball. I certainly will not rent storage space to store things out. I want to talk a little bit about the staff challenges for us for 2014. Our office has a responsibility to book, jail, and house for all municipalities in Stark County. That's Canton, Alliance, and Massillon. And both Canton, Alliance, and Massillon has transitioned their booking into the housing in the Stark County Jail, with Massillon being the most recent in 2006. The average bookings for the jail over a 5-year period from 2006 to 2010, with a prisoner capacity of 501 beds, was about 11,500 inmates a year. As you know, with the economic reduction in 2010, the average bookings were reduced to about 8,500 a year between 2011 and 2013. As we continue to increase the number of beds available, we are experiencing a steady increase in our bookings. This, coupled with the statutory requirements of the minimum jail standards for state jails in Ohio, under the Ohio Administrative Code, which states there shall be a written implemented staffing plan that includes jail personnel assignments, days of week and hours of the day that assignments are covered, and any deviation from the plan with respect to weekends, holidays, or any other atypical situations. The plan shall reflect that the jail has staff for administration and supervision, prisoner programs, prisoner supervision, custody and backup, support services, including medical and food services, maintenance and clerical, staff training, and other jail-related functions such as escorts and transportation of prisoners. We continue to hire and train both deputies and corrections officers to fill those critical positions. Over the past year, we have filled many support staff positions as well as security staff positions. In 1999, our available prisoner capacity was 379 beds. At that time, we had 111 staff members to operate the jail. In comparison, in 2014, with a prisoner capacity, expected prisoner capacity of 501 beds, which is a 32% increase over the 1999 figures, our staffing needs will increase by 28%, for a total of 143 staff members for the jail. This will ensure the safe and efficient operation of the Stark County Jail, while at the same time maintain compliance with Ohio jail minimum standards as prescribed by the Ohio Administrative Code. In addressing the staffing needs of the jail, we find ourselves working through a number of challenges. As you know, part of our jail is much older than another part of our jail, which requires a different complement of staffing. But the first challenge is for us to recruit and hire qualified applicants. Over the past year, we have looked closely at our hiring procedures, and we have made a number of changes that have resulted in a more efficient process. We have recruited and hired 15 veterans, thanks to Bruce Nordman. He helped us with that. We appreciate that, which is 29% of the people we've hired. We've also hired 6 minority applicants for a total of 12% of those we've hired. Our total hires, we've hired 20 female applicants, which reflects 39% of our total hires for 2013. The next challenge is to address the minimum jail standards as promulgated by the Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections.
By the way, are you losing many deputies or jail staff to other enforcement agencies?
I hate to say it, but it's still a bit of a revolving door, although we are trying to increase the career path for folks. And I think we are doing that through the balance. As you know, in February of 2013, I think, don't quote me on the exact number, I think it was 76% was deputies and 24% were corrections officers in the jail. And now we're bringing that into balance, and probably going to go the other way a little bit, so that the corrections officers have a career path in the jail, and we lose less people that way. What happens with the deputies is, they go through the OPATA training. Most of them, not all of them, would like to be boots on the ground police officers out in the field. And so they get in our jail setting, they get some great experience there. We have a great training program, and 2-3 years, they're snagged up by another agency. Matter of fact, I talked to Chief Lawver yesterday, and he told me that they're probably going to hire 20 officers or so in Canton. I'm guessing I'm going to lose some people as a result of that. So it's important for me to continue to work on reversing those numbers, maybe 25% deputies who actually want a career path in the jail, as opposed to 50% of them who can't wait to get out of there and get on the road, which I cannot provide that opportunity for them, at least not within a reasonable amount of time. So we're continuing to work on that. But yes, that was a long answer to your question, that we do continue to see somewhat a revolving door. I know we have 2 people that have recently notified Teresa and I that they're going to Akron PD to be police officers. So,
Just because of the pay for the most part?
It's not so much the pay, it's the career path. They would like to be law enforcement officers out on the roads, and they don't want their career path to be in the jail setting. Now, there are some that do. In fairness to that argument, there are some that do like to have their career path in the jail, and so we take advantage of that. But remember, the majority of our people were deputies, okay? And the deputies are paid at a slightly higher rate, but the big thing was our PERS was higher for them. So by reversing that, we're not only saving a little bit of money, we're also creating a career path for the corrections officers within the jail, and we're going to see a result that we lose less deputies out in the
Can you
field.
cross-train them? I think I've asked that question before.
They are pretty much cross-trained. They are
So
cross-trained.
A corrections officer that wants to go out, eventually go out.
Well, that's a good question. We had the opportunity. The Ohio State Highway Patrol has an academy class coming up this spring that they offered out to agencies to enroll candidates at no charge. Now, that's usually about $3,000 to $5,000 to put somebody through that school. So we surveyed our folks, and we had a process where we selected a candidate to go down there who's a corrections officer who wants to be a deputy. So he'll get an opportunity to go down there at no cost for the training and go through the Highway Patrol Academy to be a deputy, and when he comes back, then he'll be a deputy. So, how long was that? 3 months, maybe 4 months?
February to June.
Yeah. Pretty intensive training. I've had some experience at that place. They do a pretty good job at training folks, so we're really excited about having the opportunity to take advantage of that free training. As we continue with our challenges, we look at the minimum jail standards. I don't know, but some of the research that I've done, I've learned that as far back as December of 2001, there were a number of code requirements. As you know, we had a recent inspection. There were a number of code requirements back then that it was a challenge at best to meet. There were some adjustments made, some agreements made with the Department of Rehabilitation and Correction to accomplish this through a mutual agreement. Some of those things were put in place for an indefinite period of time. Due to declining economic conditions and staffing, those things again then were pushed to the wayside. So what we're experiencing now is when the DRC come back in and did an inspection, they're seeing all these things where we should have been doing some of these things that are required by the code. We let them go, and because of staffing, they were never caught back up to where they need to be. So that's one of the things, one of our challenges to bringing back up to where we need to be in those codes. So it's imperative that we continue to restore those requirements and as mandated under the jail standards, and we can do that. As we continue to adapt to our challenging prisoner population, we must also consider those prisoners that fall into an area of special precaution. We have seen a significant increase of prisoners that we house that fall into special precaution, and I'll explain. the number of prisoners that require either a one-on-one security supervision or a 10 or 15-minute interval inspection. These are people that are under observation for one reason or another. Some of them are on precaution due to just their behavior, and those fall under a 15-minute precaution where a deputy or a corrections officer has to actually physically see them and be able to observe them every 15 minutes. We've seen an increase of 52% of those folks that we just have to have that 15-minute interval observation. We've seen a 151% increase of those folks that we have to have constant supervision over who are under a homicide precaution, fear that they may lash out to another inmate. And 132% increase in the precautions of those folks that are under suicide watch. So again, we're seeing more frequently the people that need special attention, and we address those mostly by intensified staffing, and that's the only way we can address them under the code. We've seen an increase of the psych seclusions. Those are folks that have some type of psychological issue that they need to be in seclusion where we have to constantly monitor them, and we've seen 107% increase over those over the last 2 years. An area we find ourselves most vulnerable that I would like to share with you and creates a significant security risk is when we transport prisoners to court and to other locations. We frequently transport 30 to 40 inmates, prisoners, at one time utilizing only 5 or 6 deputies due to our staffing limitations. This increases the risk of prisoner escape, and in fact, most recently, we have prevented 2 escape attempts where they had actually made shanks and were going to attempt to overtake our deputies and escape. So this is something that we deal with on a daily basis. We find ourselves pulling security staff from other areas within the jail or out on the road and creating additional risk to both staff and the public to accomplish this essential task. And we have a plan in place to correct that, and that's part of what you see in your budget. You see a transport team in there, and that's part of what we feel we need to put in place to successfully transport to and from one place to another. As we continue to successfully recruit, train, and retain qualified staff, we feel that we are on target to increase the prisoner capacity of the Stark County Jail, and we hope, provided no unforeseen circumstances, to have that jail back up to the 501 jail bed capacity by May 1st of 2014. I know there were some, the cover letter that I sent in with my budget had some issues, not issues, but mentioned some of the potential pay increases, and I just wanted to touch on that just a little bit.
By the way, there's something you just kind of went through. Do you have that in some kind of a format that you can provide to us?
I can provide you that, yes.
That would be appreciated.
That was my presentation.
Thank you. This is something, this is a new number now?
That's the updated one.
I want to talk a little bit about, I know there's been some conversation with previous meetings here regarding pay increases, and I want to tell you that the only pay increase, you'll see some increases from last year that were as a result of contract obligations. The only increase from last year, there was some staff that was given an increase by Sheriff Swanson in December before he left in 2012 of 3%, and you probably have that on a spreadsheet there. The other increases were a result of people who were either promoted and were increased as a result of promotion, people who were given step increases as a result of their contract, and then or an increase as a result of their contract. For example, I think our line staff received 1.5% pay increase last year. In addition to that, there were some of them who received a step increase as part of their normal transition. For 2014, I projected in the budget a 3% increase for deputies. I can tell you that's a projection. They have asked for 5%. Know that they did not receive a raise since 2009, and they did not receive a raise last year as we were negotiating the contract. I don't want to say those negotiations broke down, but they slowed down, and we should have something in place relatively quickly, but just so you know, we're still in the negotiation process of that. So I'm anticipating a 3% increase for them this year.
So there's nothing in 2013?
No, they did not receive anything.
None of this would be retroactive? Or we got
No, sir.
Does this assume, at least for the 3% for the contract in, that it may be retroactive to January 1?
Correct. Only to January 1.
Looking back.
Correct.
Susan, say something, by the way.
That's
Tell me
accurate.
anything.
January 1 of this year is what they're anticipating it would go back to.
Okay, that's okay.
Thank you.
Sheriff, your forms are a little bit different than the other ones we've been looking at, so I'm kind of struggling here right now. But and maybe you've said it and I wasn't listening, trying to look through everything. Your requested capital budget items for the $714,000 would be, are they in here that I'm not?
Yes.
Okay, take
Let me
me
go
there.
through those with you. The capital outlay.
How far back is that one?
Page 6 of 7.
Oh,
Yes.
I see it. Okay, all right.
One of the things, go ahead. The capital outlay is projected here. One of them, or a number of them, are jail issues that were identified in our inspection, and/or I think we had the insurance carrier that did a walkthrough and identified a few things that we needed to address. One of them is the front entrance door to the jail, and that's a remote-controlled jail door, if you will, that has been failing in performance for a number of years. It's I hate to say it's on its last leg because it's beyond its last leg. And what we're concerned about is that if that thing breaks, then we have to really change complete business model, how we do business. That's where all of our staff enter the jail and are checked in and checked out. So we have projected some capital money to have that repaired. We've received a few quotes on that. That has to be done by, I think that might be sole source, from my understanding, from a jail security company that provides that equipment. The other thing that is on the capital outlay, Commissioner, is we have an emergency generator. Well, we have a couple of them, but we have emergency generators in place that have not been properly maintained, tested, or operated for whatever reason, and to enter into an agreement with a legitimate company who maintains those on a frequency to ensure that if our power goes down, we can continue to do business and house inmates, and that's projected in that capital outlay as well, so that we can have a maintenance agreement with them. We have a kitchen fire hood suppression system. It's an outdated. My understanding is the chemical system is outdated. It needs to be upgraded. So we projected some funds to take care of that. This next item on there, Commissioner, is the showers in the jail. We continuously repair, or probably the best word is repair or update jail showers. As you know, by the age of the jail, we always have some work to do, and we have staff there that takes care of that. This is projected for the jail to upgrade a number of showers and the plumbing that's not working properly, so that we can get up to speed. This is one of the things that's pretty critical for us, because when we get up to the 501 bed capacity, to move inmates to another area so that we can accomplish this is nearly impossible. So it's important that we get this taken care of immediately. We've been working behind the scenes to have people available to come in and take care of this as soon as we possibly can, so that we can get up to the 501 bed capacity. You see some money set aside in there for fencing. Our fencing is not up to code for jail standards. It was probably 10 or 15 years ago, but as the standards have changed, we have not addressed it. Some of the barbed wire at the top is rusted and falling down, so it has to be replaced. So we projected some money in the capital to repair the fencing, and that also will help us when we talk about having rec areas, because we need to have rec areas, and that fencing needs to be properly in place before the state inspectors will allow us to utilize those rec areas.
You know, Tim and Martin, by the way, if you guys really want to cover this thing and cover it well, I would recommend that the two of you go out there and shower with the inmates, and then
Do I get to hold the camera?
I didn't see that coming.
Or get stuck between the two gates because that front gate door is not working.
Yeah, then you're stuck in there. Fencing upgrades, and then our furniture, and I actually brought some photos with you if you'd like, but our furniture is in the jail is deplorable, that we utilize on a daily basis. And I have and we have to do some upgrades in our furniture. It just hasn't been done since. You can see there's probably from the late 70s, early 80s, and some of the furniture. So we projected a little bit of capital outlay to take care of that.
Are they going to come back and re-inspect? I mean, once
They
we get
will.
all this stuff
Oh, yeah.
done?
Actually, we will send them a report to tell them what we've done, and we've already done that. As we make improvements, we'll send them a report. They inspect every 2 years.
Okay.
So we will be back on the cycle for re-inspection.
And that inspection was back in last April, right?
April.
So really, you're only just over a year from that
Correct.
next.
And so what we do, we just send them a report of, here's what we've done to make improvements, and then they put it as part of our file. And then you see a little bit of outlay for the recreational yards, and that really is to patch and seal some of those yards that need sealed, and inspect the fencing so that we are secure. The next part is really a lot of IT upgrades that we need, some workstations, Tough Book, that Panasonic Tough Book, if you go down to that, those are the in-car computers. So we're on a cycle that we have to every about 4 or 5 years, just like a regular computer, about 5 or 6 years, you have to either update those or replace them.
On those printers and the records management software upgrade and the server, do you work through IT, or are you going to outsource those things?
Well, we work through IT, but what we would like to do is, and it's Bruce McAllister that does that through the data center, and what we'd like to do is continue to do that, but we really want to look for our best economies. So whatever direction that takes us, that's what we'd like to employ with regards to those purchases. I think the Microsoft Office software is a standard thing that we do. We buy so many licenses to renew them each year. We're on a rotation cycle. The bottom thing that you see there is the fingerprint system. You know, we are statutorily mandated to fingerprint many misdemeanors and all felons that come in. Well, everybody that comes into the jail is fingerprinted. We have 2 systems there. The system we're talking about is about 10 or 12 years old, and it is failing, and so we have projected to make this purchase. But I will tell you, along with that, we are looking at what available grants are out there to assist us with this purchase. So worst case scenario, this is what it costs us to renew this system. If we can get some help, we're going to try to get some help. And you see with the vehicles that we purchased last year, I anticipate that those vehicles will be out in service for our deputies in the communities, I would say by the first or second week of February at the latest. And the only thing that really is going to delay that is that because it's a new vehicle and a different style of vehicle than we used, we put together a real quick training program where we go have our deputies come in, we go over the nomenclature, the differences of the vehicles, you know, the safety features of the vehicles, and then we teach them the pivot points on the vehicles, and so that we hopefully prevent any fender benders with the vehicles. But then you see here 6 vehicles projected in this budget. With the 11 vehicles that we're going to put out, we do not get all the vehicles that have over 200,000 miles off the road. So they're replacing vehicles with 250 plus thousand miles. And when we put those 11 out, we still have a number of vehicles that are between 180 and 200,000 to replace. The problem I see, or what I think was the problem with this is that because of the economic conditions, we waited too long. What I'd like to do is get into a system where we're buying 3 or 4 vehicles a year and keep the rotation going so we don't get caught in this trick bag again where we have to buy 10 or 11 vehicles at once. That's just a hard hit on us, hard hit on the county, and we've got people working. You seen last night, Commissioner. I've got people working out there till 8, 9 o'clock at night to get these cars out on the road. And so to prevent that, I think what we have to do, and I think we're on track to do that after these 6 vehicles, 3 or 4 vehicles a year, that whatever we anticipate our needs are for that year only, rather than trying to replace a whole fleet of cars that have over 200,000 miles. Now, it's nothing for these vehicles that we're buying to go between 150 and 200,000 miles, because these vehicles are designed and equipped and more robust, I would say, than the vehicles we had before. But currently our fleet is deteriorating very fast before our eyes. And I wanted to show you last night before you left that one of the vehicles at the end, which was still a vehicle in service, the fenders are all rusted out of it, those types of things. So, we have an obligation to make sure that we can get to where we need to get when we need to get there. And when we're transporting prisoners across the state, we have to make sure that we can get them there. And oftentimes, I come in the morning and read, and I'll get a note on my desk where we had to tow one of our vehicles in because the ones that are 250, 200,000 miles, they are failing quickly.
I think those Interceptors are going to work out well for you.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a little more.
And they're just a better vehicle.
They're more robust than what we had.
Right. And you guys should be commended for putting all the equipment in and what'd you say, think the savings was?
Yeah, we'll save half. It's probably, we'll save a little more than half. It's probably about $3,000 a vehicle if we outsource that to have somebody put the equipment in. And keep in mind, this is, I was teasing you last night, this is like a smartphone. It's a smart car. Mm-hmm. This equipment in here is very sophisticated. We got half the price of what we pay for those cars, or nearly half the price, or more than half the price actually, in equipment. With the radios, the cameras, and everything that we're putting in these cars, you're up to about $14,000 of equipment that we're putting in these vehicles. So, we have to make sure that it's done properly. The other advantage for us, and I didn't get to tell you this last night, but the other advantage for us is when our people do that and it breaks, then our people know how to fix it, rather than paying somebody else to do it somewhere else. Yep. I could probably had a company come in and do that. They could have probably done it in maybe 5 days' time, had them all done. It would have cost us at least twice as much, and then our people wouldn't have had the experience of building the cars and know how to fix them when we need to fix them.
Is the intention moving forward to stick with the Explorer then for some consistency?
That's what my command staff's saying they like, and we're going to see unless there's any issues with these. The mechanics say they like them. One of the things is, these deputies carry a lot of equipment and extra gear around with them, and as these cars, the sedans, have reduced in size, it's been challenging for us to transport prisoners in the cars. It's been challenging for us to haul our own equipment in the cars. So we're going to see how they go, but I think they're pleasantly surprised with the available room in the vehicles and the handling, and so we'll probably stick with that.
So you showed that you're going to hire 40 new staff in 2014.
Yes.
What's the breakdown of those between the jail operations side of the patrol and?
I think 30 or jail. 30 or jail side.
Well, the deputies and COs will probably all start in the jail, and we'd be moving them around.
Yeah, they all start in the jail. Yes.
So if you have 30 in the jail, where's the other 10 then?
Some staff functions. Some of them are supervisors, as you've seen. Give me a second here. it is. Okay, yeah. And also, Commissioner, we have them projected by quarters, so we're not projecting them for the whole year. And I can give you a copy of that as well. We projected those folks to be...
Is the proposed budget number, I didn't find it, or did you cut it back based upon the phased-in hiring?
Yes, it is.
So if they were there for the entire year, what would the budget be? Do we have that number? So I would know what the 2015 number will look like if I'm still alive. We should ask now.
I can get that for you. I don't have it. Yeah, we can get that.
Never knows.
Right.
All day today.
There are some additional clerks that are hired. We're looking at, as you know, we've taken on additional responsibilities with our communications and our dispatch center, and so we're looking at having some supervisors in there. Yeah, yeah. And actually, there's two. I think we projected 2 positions.
Speaking of which, how did last night's transition
Excellent.
go?
I was there, and
Converted last night from the
that's right.
911 operator.
Yes, I thought
Yes.
about that,
Okay,
yes.
go ahead.
yes, I was there between 11 and 1, and I can tell you that the only challenging thing in the room was probably me and the other staff members standing around watching them, because they're probably thinking, what are these guys doing here? But everything went very smoothly. Our folks immediately were, of course, we have been working very closely answering those calls anyhow. Commend Tim Worsler was there, and there was absolutely no problems. Went very smoothly.
That's great. And how many, I know there was a couple folks that were in flux of the previous 911. I know some of them interviewed then for the new dispatcher positions.
I think we have 4 or 5 in the process.
Yeah. 2 actually have the start date today.
Right.
And they're trying to gradually bring them in, so the training won't be one the following Thursday and then one following Thursday.
Right.
So they'll all be in January.
Right. We did that because of health insurance and those types of things to try to help them out. But I can tell you that the reason we phased them in is because of more of a training thing. We really don't have enough people to continue to train, so we're phasing them in so that we can place them with people to train. But I got to tell you, we have already been working on a lot of this training. They've been sitting side by side in the dispatch seats together, and so the familiarity is already there, and people are hitting the ground running. They're doing a great job.
Sheriff, last year the request, and I know that you came in at the last minute and reworked, the request was 19,135. This year the request is 2992 for a difference of 1.8 roughly. Where, because we don't have the side-by-side comparison, where is the biggest portion of growth? Is it in personal services? Is it capital?
I think you see, we didn't have much in capital last year, and I'm asking the commissioners to afford me the ability to manage these capital. They're not real big projects, and I've had some experience managing capital projects in the past. I think these are things that we can help take off Mac's plate. He's done a great job with us. We realize how busy he is, but these are some internal things that we think we can manage. I think that's significant. I don't have last year's in front of me as well, but I think it was only $20,000 or $30,000 last year that we had as capital outlay.
Well, the cruisers.
The cruise, aside from the cruisers.
Right. So
there's
1.8
those other projects that we identified there are projects that we knew about, but we have more projects. But what we've done here is I've tried to get our staff to spread them out over a 3 or 5 year period so that we can address them.
I just think we probably need to put this in a
maybe
format
I
where
need to
we
look at
can
it.
drill down and see where the growth is. I just don't have a feel for where it is.
Well, staffing's the other area.
Yeah.
Of course, we appropriated one number, but again, a large amount was returned because
Yes, that is true. I
not
think.
able to hire, so our actual expenditures were 17.1.
What did we turn? Do you know what we turned?
Yeah.
17.9 was
This
the-
one has a new number.
The total expenditures for the
On the
year were
operational side.
17.1
Okay.
against the second.
This is
But I would like
Where it
to
sits on that
see
side.
his numbers,
Yeah.
and then maybe you reserve the right to bring me back in, because I'm,
Hey, in regards,
No, I think we need to see the personnel numbers, yeah.
Yeah.
in regards to the pay raise issue, did the previous administration, we had the auditor run the pays for last year, and there's some lieutenants, some captains, some sergeants that got significant pay raises. Was that done on the way out the door of our previous sheriff, or?
The way the pay raises read is for people that are promoted, and it's by contract. They are given a promotion, they get a pay raise, and it's, I don't know what the percentage is. I know some staff is 10% less during the probationary period, and then they get another 10% once of their raise once they've completed the probationary period by contract. That's the way it's laid out. So those people that would have been promoted, there were a number of people on there that had been promoted the previous year, and then they reached their anniversary date in 2013, so they got another
So they got
uptick.
longevity, or longevity plus the,
They got another, yes. I noticed those as well. And that's by contract, the way they're.
So the lieutenants are under,
The lieutenants, the captains are 16% higher.
Yeah, there's a shift differential between the positions, but in the old contract, when they got promoted to a sergeant or lieutenant or captain, they had an extra probationary rate. So it was, I think it's 6.5%, and then another 3.5 or 3% on top of that. So when they served that year, they were at that lower rate. And when they completed their probation at the end of the year, then that 9.5% went on,
Kicked
and they
back
got
on.
up to the normal rate as any other
so
lieutenant
that's why
already
it
in the
went to
position.
12.
Correct.
4.8.
Right, and then
And most everyone of your full staff, how many are covered under contract versus
Yeah,
is any of the administrative staff non-contract?
The small amount, what is it, Teresa, the,
not covered by bargaining agreement?
Yeah, right.
I think there's 11 or 12.
no, not many.
11 or 12 out of the
Yeah.
Actually, what happens is deputies negotiate the salary increase, and then they get a differential.
And,
Right, that's
Brent,
exactly
you might
right.
notice a difference too in the food cost and the medical,
Yeah.
because the inmate count is expected to increase.
Oh, so that
We-
expanded to.
We just
Right.
negotiated two
Population.
contracts,
Contracts.
the medical contract, which went up.
So based on that price, it's
And-
based on population, obviously.
Right.
The food service contract, which went up.
Okay.
So those would be reflected in your, that's a good point.
Yeah, and I guess what we need to see, again, maybe work with Chris on that, but again, like last year, for example, we also authorized the hiring of 45 new staff, so, and then this year it's 40. I don't think they're hiring 85 staff between the 2 years. Probably.
No, we're losing people.
Because you lost people and you didn't get to hire 45 anyway,
Right.
so I think we need to see a number that balances all of that out, so we know that out of the 45 that you asked for, that we budgeted for, and that's why you have such a large return, because many of them, one, you were unable to hire for a variety of reasons, and number two, then you lost people, which goes into the computation of this year's need for 40, but we need to
Right.
work through those numbers in some rational manner so that we can understand them and understand where they're going.
Okay.
And I can overlay now that I have the final 2013 expenses, I can overlay, because the sheriff's laid it out at the account level, I can overlay that and extend it forward so then we can see the trend across.
And to the extent that Chris doesn't have that prepared for today, give him two.
No, I'm not.
I think everybody was facing a challenge on this particular budget. so-
I'm not, okay, go ahead, break the tie. Go ahead. Stand your ground. Stand your ground, guy.
We have a meaningless demerit system, by the way. Just, and the real key is, the real issue is to see whether or not Chris can ever make it through anything without getting demerits.
Which hasn't happened
Feel your
yet.
pains.
Yeah, I think we need to see those
Yeah,
numbers.
I need to see, yeah.
Yeah, and again, the personal services one that has the numbers, you have 286 people slotted in for, if you were to fully hire out in 2014, but I guess we need that filled in to, again, I know that you're, kind of short, trying to put together the budget and so forth, so we'd like to take some time and work backwards a little bit and just see again the 2013 numbers in that same area and the 2012 numbers again, just because it's important for all of us to understand
Right.
A, the growth, and B, your needs. Yeah. I actually like, parts of his budget, I like your budget better in many ways. Only, you have so many, moving parts and operational needs and purchase services and so forth, which are so large compared to all the other entities that we need that kind of a breakdown. Your medical contract in itself is larger than the purchase services of almost every other, department or elected officials that we deal with. So, we need to see that, so that's I like, I like that part of the budget. It's just a huge
Those,
budget.
I think both those contracts came due November or December. We have an extension, you give us an extension on the food service only because we were reviewing the final bids before the award on the food service, but it's going to go up, that's why we reflected what it is in there.
Clarified. I know the personnel, we need to look at the clarification.
I just like to be able to look at what anyone, not you, Sheriff, but what anyone is looking to do in 14 and what they've done in previous years. I just like to be able to take a look at those numbers. Because then right away something will jump out at you or something stays the same, then you're like, okay.
What else, anything else, any other things that we need to take a look at with regard to this? Are we enhancing then in 2014 the road patrol side of things?
Well, we are, to some degree. One of the things that we
Yeah, the
have...
focus in the past really has been on the jail.
Correct. And everybody, and this is kind of a bad way to put it, but everything goes through the jail. That's where everybody starts.
Has it always been like that, or is that kind of a newer-
I think it pretty much has. There might have been some times where they didn't, but for the most part, that's pretty much where, because there's so much experience to be gained from working in the jail and working with that population for our officers. But we are looking at, some of those numbers I looked at in the road patrol were the same numbers from 1999, and we're looking at trying to give them some relief there, and so that we can have adequate patrols out. Probably the most significant thing that we're looking at is we really don't have a follow-up system in place for capital crimes or even minor crimes, but for capital crimes as it relates to detective work. We've been absent that for years because of the economic woes of the county, and it really need to take a look at. There's some cases out there that we really should be devoting more resources to solve these cases, and so that's one of the areas we're looking at.
Okay.
Anything else? Chris?
Yes, sir.
Commissioners? Frank?
Just bring this man back to court at a future date.
Want to schedule a date in right now for him to reappear and have him post bond?
Oh, I think. He needs to get representation.
The shower, when is that going to happen?
We can make it happen. I don't know if they really want to go on.
That's all right.
I'll give you a couple of things that you asked for today, and then I'll work with Chris.
Okay, good.
And I think with the breakdown you provided, I've got the numbers
Numbers.
available that I
We
can pull this.
plug in, yeah.
And I'll, coordinate all that with you clearly ahead of time. Make sure you see what I'm putting
Okay.
together. And then
This sheet here was more or less my worksheet, but I'd like to share that with you. That's the phase-in of the staffing
Oh, good.
throughout the year. Thank you.